Let's begin by anchoring something concrete that is happening right now. In January 2026, Democrats assumed unified control of the Virginia state government, the governorship, the House of Delegates, and the state Senate. The Old Dominion is not a deep blue state. It is electorally competitive with a substantial and organized Republican base. Within the first weeks of the legislative session, Democrats introduced a coordinated slate of major proposals aimed at reshaping core areas of state law and governance. It would turn this moderate state overnight into one of the most progressive liberal states in the country. These include proposed constitutional amendments to, among other things, remove existing protections for unborn life by embedding abortion access into the state constitution, eliminate voter ID requirements and expand eligibility rules for voting, codify same-sex marriage, and reopen the state constitution to permit mid-cycle redistricting rather than waiting for the next census. Legislation was also introduced to do things like repeal Virginia's right-to-work law, altering the balance of power between employers and organized unions, mandate expanded union access and collective bargaining rights in the public sector, impose new firearm restrictions, including bans and regulatory expansions previously rejected by voters or vetoed by the previous governor, expand energy mandates that would accelerate the closure of fossil fuel infrastructure in favor of state-directed energy targets that will result in higher energy costs for Virginians, and aggressively raise numerous taxes despite sitting on a budget surplus of $2.7 billion, plus $1.7 billion in cash reserves and another $4.7 billion in a rainy day fund. And at the executive level, the new governor moved quickly to repeal the previous governor's executive order that required local law enforcement to cooperate with immigration and customs enforcement, and replace members of governing boards and commissions, including boards overseeing public universities and regulatory bodies, actions that directly shape institutional behavior regardless of legislative outcomes. Now, the point here is not that every proposal introduced by the Democrats in Virginia will pass. Of course, some won't. The point is that the governing posture was unmistakable from day one. Use the window of unified control to push broad, structural changes across law, culture, and institutions simultaneously to achieve the left's policy outcomes. Now contrast that with the GOP at the federal level since taking control of the presidency and the Congress last January. Legislative movement has been narrow and limited. According to the legislative tracking for the 119th Congress, only a few dozen bills became law through late 2025 and early 2026, mostly narrow or technical updates, such as reauthorizations for veterans' land allotments, or a federal outdoor recreation data standardization, and minor amendments to existing programs. The most substantial act Republicans passed was the One Big Beautiful Bill, a reconciliation budget package signed on July 4, 2025, that include broad appropriation changes and various tax and spend adjustments. But beyond budget packages and routine reauthorizations, major conservative priorities have not become law. For example, a federal funding bill for DHS and ICE passed narrowly in the House, but has become entangled in a partisan conflict in the Senate. Comprehensive immigration reform to close procedural loopholes and expedite deportations remain stalled and have not advanced. Broad voter integrity legislation with strict nationwide standards like the SAVE Act has passed the House, but again is held up in the Senate. And other than ratifying one cut amounting to $9.4 billion back in July, the Republican Congress has failed to codify the DOGE spending cuts. In another area of institutional power, filling U.S. attorney positions illustrates the gulf between intent and execution. A Democrat Senate minority reportedly places holds on all 93 open U.S. attorney positions early in 2025, blocking those confirmations en masse. As of late 2025, Senate Republicans had confirmed just 31 U.S. attorneys, but a vast majority of vacancies remain, preventing the president from fully executing his law and order agenda nationwide, resulting in U.S. attorneys' offices continuing to be run by career staff that in many cases personally align with the Democrat agenda and can therefore slow walk and even sabotage key cases. Meanwhile, Senate Republicans like Senator Chuck Grassley continue to defend the blue slip tradition that has allowed Democrats to block these vital confirmations for more than a year. The result is a stark contrast. In Virginia, unified Democrat control produced rapid action in just a matter of days. At the federal level, under unified Republican control, the legislative output outside a major budget package has been limited. Many core agenda items remain unresolved or unpassed, and the president's government isn't even fully staffed even after more than a year in power. What can be even more frustrating and frankly mystifying to the average Republican voter is the Republican Senate's leadership allowing Senate procedures like the blue slip tradition and the filibuster to block advancing the Republican agenda. This commitment to tradition seems misplaced, not just because it stalls the agenda, but because it's no secret that Democrats will likely try to discard those same procedural constraints the moment they regain power. After all, they were just 2 votes shy of abolishing the filibuster in January 2022, and were only stopped by 2 Democrat defections to the GOP side, Senators Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. In all, this results in a familiar sequence for the right. Elections won, mandates claimed, procedural caution asserted, momentum lost, and institutions left largely intact and governing mandates squandered. So, why does this pattern keep repeating? And what, if anything, can we do to get out of it? That's where we go next.